Today on One Man Garage, we're going to remove a previously installed intake that was temporary because I had picked up that 1970 Quadrajet factory manifold, so I can take off this 65 AFB 389 style manifold on this stock 350. You know, I was running an Edelbrock carb on here and it was drinking a lot of gas, and then I used adapters to try to use Quadrajet that was more economical, but the Quadrajet I'm using is the wagon's original Quadrajet that's never been economical, and I had even leaned it out and it just made it slower and still didn't help the mileage. In previous videos a while back I showed that. So what I think I'm going to do is pull that carb off and go back to default performance setting modes I had in it initially, and return it to the wagon for the races next weekend and just see how it treats me. Probably put a clutch fan back on the wagon also. And the Quadrajet that's the 403 one that gets good mileage on the wagon, I'm going to put on the Le Mans with no spacers or adapters, and then we'll, you know, see what kind of mileage we'll get in this car. So stay tuned. This won't be that hard, but it is hot out, but at least I'm in the shade. And there's a disco ball. Let's get on with it. Well, I got carburetor and spacers and hardware off of there, water neck, alternator bracket pulled to the side. This is a vintage Robert Shaw new old stock 160 thermostat that I bought, which these things are great. The new ones are not all brass construction like this, so they still sell them, but you know, they still got cheaped out on us a little bit. So certain automotive parts I like to find NOS old box stuff on eBay. So anyways, plugging along. This is the manifold that some time back I opened up the 4 holes and was sort of modifying it to, if I needed like a stock appearing 389 421 manifold, you know, that this one with a hotter motor under it than this, of course, you know, might be a little bit of a power boost that you could run an open spacer on, or just general clearing up the plenum area. You know, I'm gonna do some more work on it later on. Maybe it'll get used in a hot rod or gasser or some vintage thing, because I got some 389 stuff I might use it with. I got 65 389 heads and this 65 intake, so who knows. Well, got all the bolts out, linkage bracket hanging back there. Probably need to blow a little bit, clean that little area there so I don't drop any crap down the motor. Little front bolts out that goes through there. And whatever, had to use the old 15/16 to get the sending unit out for the idiot light, which, I mean, I don't need a light shine on me, but you know, whatever, that's what the wiring needs, factory wiring. Well, I got the old crow out to make this a little easier, because, you know, man, when you get older and you just, you know, you might not take all the advantages or little helps you can. Looks like it's already loose. See if we can lift this bad boy out of here. Nice. As you can see, that is an unrestored valley pan. That is the 85 6,000 mile original motor. I just changed it from 2-barrel to 4-barrel 2 years ago, and yeah, it's so nice. Not really. Sort of get an idea of the difference here on the manifolds. Quadrajet's superior in every way. Factory horsepower ratings on the cast iron unit up to 390 on the 428 HO, But with the little plenum mods you can do on the top, they'll support over 500 horsepower easily. So how you like that? Quadrajet and a stock iron intake, good for over 500. Not in this application. We'll be struggling to get 300 out of a 265 brake horsepower rated with the 2-barrel. The HO in 69 had big valve heads and 10-to-1 compression, 10.5 advertised, versus this 9-to-1 engine, and they were rated 330 horsepower with a manifold like that. So I figure a 4-barrel 9-to-1 motor in between, maybe 300-ish. Yeah. I'm substituting and using Ram Air 4 size 6970 intake gaskets. They'll still work. They'll still seal on the stock intake, pretty sure. But you can see the port height difference on the roof of a Ram Air 4. I believe it's like 200 thou raised roof on the Ram Air 4 engine. And a big part of this is when you're using a 71 and older intake on a Pontiac, a stock intake, you got to use the passenger side gasket needs to have the large rectangle, because they used a heat choke stove, and it will have an exhaust leak because your 72 and later Pontiac gasket seals down here, because they changed the way the manifolds, they just seal down here like the size. Now granted, these heads have the small holes, but it has everything to do with the intake you use. If you use a 72 intake, it's the only non-EGR iron Quadrajet manifold that you can use a 72 and later gasket. You can use it on early heads, it's fine, 65 and newer heads. It's just the manifold. If it's a 71 back to 65 manifold, you either need a solid gasket that this is closed off completely, like a Ultra Seal Mr. Gasket, because you get this port mismatch and you'll have an exhaust leak coming off your intake manifold. It's really annoying. A lot of people get sucked up into that. So, you know, I'll show you on the other manifold. See, this was old choke stove, so it has a large port. Now the other side is a small, because they don't have the choke stove. It's about putting heat under that so your choke coil thing works. So anyway, the gasket's the big deal. So if you're a Pontiac guy, you probably already know this, but for the new people that are into old cars that might not, your intake gasket is 72 and later, or 65 to 71 with the large rectangle. And I've been seeing some packaged stuff with the wrong stuff in it from Felpro, so really got to watch out on these things. When we get our bolts kind of going, we're going to have to preventatively probably put a chase of little silicone on the top, just to promote sealing on that tall gasket, because that is kind of pushing it. Just saying. You want to get the bolts almost tight, but you have to use that little bolt. Oh crap, I didn't put the damn thing on it. That's what happens. Alright, reverse. I gotta prop it up a little bit. Put the rubber deal in the front. Here I am, getting ahead of myself. That's alright, it's in position. I can just come up just a touch here. Then, if I can see where I put it, There we go. The rubber deal for the front of the manifold. Always like to silicone one side. Man, I just used this yesterday. It's already stuck. What a pain in the butt. Silicone. There we go. Just gonna kind of stick it on the manifold. So it'll hold it for us. If we can manage to not be wearing this before it's over with. Now I don't have a rag. I sure like having the garage cleaned out. I'll try not to clutter it no more since I got that horse trailer storage. We'll see how long that lasts. But I'm gonna try. Damn. And then the gasket falls. Take two. All right. One's got a bracket. Oh, this one. Everything's I'm using the stock wire holder brackets. A lot of times you don't have these on cars that have been around the block a few times. So anyway, you get the idea. So I got that little bolt with the washers back in, and what you're doing is you put the bolts almost tight but not quite, kind of loose, not loose but almost where you're tightening, especially in the back and in the front so it doesn't lift the back of the manifold. And then having that little bit of silicone in there, you feel that squeeze and see it bulge just a little bit, so you know that it pulled up tight against the timing cover bypass thing. And I got one of those one side self-adhesive thermostat gaskets. I do not like those. They're thin and papery, and it seems like it's just hard to find the old good blue Velcro ones that were thicker. I prefer those. Same Robert Shaw back in. This manifold has both. It's supposed to have the vacuum temp switch tree thing. I'm not sure if what I'm gonna block off with a piece of brass or swap one of those off the old 2-barrel manifold. Not sure yet, but now I got to snug the rest of the intake bolts with the cheapo. So, whatever. That's what I'm doing next. Well, getting the water neck back on, I cleaned the rusty threads off the bolts with brake cleaner, and then that worked real good, and then WD-40'd them, put that light tack on the gasket, Getting that snugged up. Got the bolts torqued. It's coming along. So I went and robbed. I had this piece of brass block off and this one in the other manifold, so I'm just going to use those for now. And going to bump them with the old impact. Just a little bump's all it takes. That's probably a 7/8. That's good enough. I don't expect a leak. Besides Ram Air 4 intake gaskets from Velcro, we're also using this premium nice Quadrajet base gasket, 4-hole style, like you find in your 68 to 72 Pontiacs. 67's got a weird heat riser thing, so you would see the difference on that. They have nice little metal little reinforcements on them, and that is part number 60061-1. Get you some at rockauto.com. Hang them on the wall. I like to stock up on the thick open style ones, which would be like, look up a 78 C10 350 Chevy pickup and buy a bunch of those, hang them on the wall, and look up these 68 to 70 Pontiac 4-barrel if you want the 4-hole style. Because like this 350, it's going to have the best low-end torque with, you know, all 4 holes sealed separately, no spacers, but give it its best, you know, performance whenever we go see if we can improve on the slow quarter-mile times. This thing has ran in the upper 15s and a quarter with 256 gears, and having to shift it very low, it had some kind of weird problem laying down at 4,000 something RPM. So actually with single track, feathered it out of the hole and only shifted it 4,000 or 4,200 and still got a 15.8 out of it. I thought that wasn't half bad. It's probably got a half second quicker if I could run it out to 5,000. Maybe this year. I might put HEI on it too, I don't know yet. I wanted to do some lock nuts on the valve covers, but I ain't messing with that today. Just want to get this thing going, go for mileage. So anyway, I rounded up some original Qjet bolts right there too. So we're gonna go back pretty darn stock. So now I just have to decide if I want to rob the Pontiac carburetor off the C10, because I could just put an Edelbrock back on it. I might put the 750 electric choke one that used to be on here in place of that 800 that was on there. I don't know. Or I'll rob the carb off the wagon. Might rob it off the truck, at least then it'll be a Pontiac carburetor. I don't know yet. Think about that. Note that I got the upper bracket back on for the AC, and everything's snug except for just carb and vacuum lines. Well, I guess I'll just do what I said I was going to do and rob this 403 Olds carb. That's the good MPGer. See what it'll do on the old lemon. Well, the carb is swapped out. The vacuum line situation is less crappy than like before. I got to get some more proper vacuum hose so I can quit trying to use this oxygen hospital tubing junk. It's not really right. But now I'm down to just one piece. Well, okay, 2 pieces, because the vacuum advance is hidden in the back, but it's hooked up to the manifold vacuum back of the carburetor. So we're gonna see how she runs. So it's running good, pretty smooth. I did test the vacuum advance on the manifold vacuum source and it is not working, so that's one of the gas mileage problems, is the vacuum advance unit is no good. So either be swapping that out or put the HEI in it, not sure yet. But anyway, idling good. We'll clean the tools and take a break, drive it a little bit.